Let's have a quick convo, brothers. And for this conversation, I'm only speaking to the gods. I'm only speaking to the gods. I'm only speaking to the people that know themselves, that have knowledge of self and know what they're capable of. Because a lot of times you can have this conversation we're getting ready to have, and a lot of people will just digress and say, hey, well, no, this conversation isn't for everybody. If you're watching this video, I'm talking to you because what I'm talking about is inside of you, right? And what I want to say is, if you haven't identified your skill, your talent, that thing that you want to give back to the world to gain your freedom, if you haven't identified it and stepped into it, somebody else is using you. They're using your skill, your asset, your knowledge for their freedom. I'm gonna say it again, man. If you haven't tapped into your thing, somebody else is using your thing to gain their freedom. And to be honest, man, you can be cool with that. Like, life might be so good where you're saying, hey, man, you know what, Soul, I get what you're saying, but hey, man, freedom ain't all that, man. Like, I got the nice crib, I got the nice car, I got the, life is doing what it's doing, man. Like, yeah, freedom. You got to understand this. What everybody is seeking is freedom. On the deepest of levels, man, what everybody is seeking is freedom. And I'm going to say this, man. If you haven't obtained freedom, and freedom is going to look different for everybody. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave a job. It don't necessarily mean you got to leave the country. For some people, freedom is having, like they say, FU money. For some people, freedom is being able to roam the globe and do what you want to do. For some people, freedom is this and freedom is that. If you haven't tapped into, if you aren't living what you call freedom, I'm going to tell you this, man, everything else has to be on the back burner. Everything else has to be on the back burner, man. You trying to get the 6-figure job. You trying to get the $100,000 car. You trying to get the crib. You trying to get the wife. If you haven't found freedom, man, and really, it's kind of tapping into the purpose conversation. But if you haven't found that freedom, bro, everything else has to be on the back burner. Because once you obtain whatever your level of freedom is, you'll quickly understand. You'll quickly realize. You'll say, you know what? This is what I've been looking for the whole time. I promise you. Now, hopefully the bells and whistles and all the things you wanted to come with it are there. The wife, the kids, the home, all that. Hopefully all that's there with it. But if none of that stuff is there, and a lot of times is not there, because a lot of times you got to sacrifice those things to really find freedom. You know what I'm saying? If it's not there, man, once you taste that freedom, you'll say, this is what I've been craving the whole time. This is what I've been craving the whole time. I was thinking about something, man. I think that the reason that a lot of people don't pursue freedom, and I'll keep using that word. I won't swap over to purpose now. But I think the reason why a lot of people won't pursue freedom, again, it's in their mind. Like I talked about in the video yesterday, where I said a lot of people have ideas of things they want to do and thoughts and all this stuff, but they can't bring it to the forefront. They can't make it a vision. They can't, and I went through the whole 4 levels of becoming. I left the link. I saw a few of y'all got that yesterday. They can't make that connection. But I'll say this. The reason why they won't pursue it is because a lot of people think that freedom is the end goal. They think that freedom is like, once you go through the gauntlet, once you get it out the mud, once you go through 5 or 10 years of trying to make it work, then you'll find freedom. And I used to think that. But what you have to understand is freedom is within that first step on the journey. Freedom is actually within the journey. I'm going to read this, man. My mama, man. If y'all follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Mama Soul, that's my mama, my tea lady. She left a comment under one of my posts, man. And y'all gotta understand, man, my mama, man, she's a goat. She's a go-getter. She's always been a hard, go-getter, business owner, all this stuff. Let me find this comment real quick. Here it is. This is what she said. She made a comment up under one of my posts. She said, keep in mind, I think I was talking about the monk mode post. If y'all follow me on other platforms, the monk mode and how it's deeper than I thought. T-Lady, Mama Soul said this. Keep in mind that the journey is just as important as the destination. I've been thinking a lot about this concept, and I believe it's crucial to focus your power to focus on the power that we accumulate along the way. It's not just about resisting, but about growing and becoming better versions of ourselves. The key point out she was speaking on is not the destination, but the journey. The freedom that everybody seeks. Like a lot of us think that, hey man, it's that end goal. Like when I can just kick back and yada, like that's the end goal. Like that's freedom. No, freedom is in the middle of all that. Freedom starts as soon as you jump off that cliff. That's when freedom starts, man. And I'm gonna tell you, man, if you've never experienced, well, let me just say this first, because a lot of people think that freedom is. Like a lot of people think freedom, they think of the kicking back and I can rest on a beach on an island and whatever that looks like, the thought of doing absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you this, doing absolutely nothing in life is not free. That's not freedom. Like your freedom is going to involve some work. So I'm gonna tell you this: if your thought of freedom is kicking back on the beaches of the Bahamas and sipping Mai Tais and mimosos and sitting there and nothing is taking place except that, you'll never achieve freedom. You'll never achieve freedom. Even if you win some lottery or win something that can put you in a position, you'll never really be free because freedom requires work. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when I say requires work, meaning it's all in the same. Like when you taste that freedom, it will inspire you to work. Like they go hand in hand. There is just like no free ticket, but you have to be willing to do that work. You have to be willing to do that, to take those risks. You have to be willing to take those L's or learn those lessons, man, to be free. But I'm telling you, it's right there. It's not way out there. It's not the mountaintop, like the end goal, the destination. That's not freedom. Freedom's still included in that. But freedom is when you take that first step, man. And I believe a lot of people don't take it because, I'll say it like this. I think a lot of people don't take it because they think it's the end destination and they don't understand it's the journey. That's one. Two, I think a lot of people don't seek that freedom is because they don't really understand that they're not free. I'm gonna let that soak in, man. I'm gonna let that soak in. A lot of people don't seek freedom because they don't understand that they're not free. You know what I'm saying? I believe there was a quote, was it Harriet Tubman? When she was talking about going back and freeing the people, she said, I tried to free a lot of people. She said, but some people I couldn't free because they didn't know they were a slave. They didn't know they were. You know what I'm saying? They didn't know. I'm saying a lot of people don't know they're not free. Because again, you could have the things, man, and it's still not freedom. Like you can have all the things, the shiny out, all the things. You're still going to be seeking something. Now you might put that, you might call it the built, you might call it the second crib, you might call it the vacation to Jamaica, you might call it that. But what your soul is yearning for, bro, is to just simply be free. It's to simply live life on your own terms. And I'm gonna tell you, until you taste it, until you feel it, you really don't know. You really don't know. I told y'all, I'm sure I've shared this before, when I said, like the moment I realized I was free, I quit my job. I'd been out of my job for a few minutes. I was calling my own shots. Everything, I didn't have anything governing me except God, right? And I remember I got pulled over by the police. I'm in my 40s. I'm 44 years old, right? I got pulled over by the police. And for the first time in my life, this is almost embarrassing to say, for the first time in my life, I wasn't paranoid by being pulled over by a police officer. And I didn't think about it until the traffic stop was over. very respectful exchange of energy. I can't remember if I got a ticket or what. I don't know what happened, but very respectful, man to man, eyeball to eyeball, respect, boom, boom. He dipped and I was gone, about my way. And when I was pulling off, I was like, that felt weird. And as I analyzed it, I was like, why did that feel weird? And I said it felt weird because I felt like, regardless if I was going 100,000 miles an hour, I said, he has no authority over my freedom. Like, he has no authority over what I'm going to wake up and do tomorrow to generate an income. Like, I just felt free. I felt like, because I'm going to tell you this, and I didn't realize it until the end. I'll just say it like this. There's a lot of things that if you're not free, there's a lot of things that you can't do that you really don't think you can't do, that you don't understand you can't do. For example, and I'll talk about myself. Like, I was making content. I've been making content since 16, September the 5th. Don't let me forget. Come on, don't forget that day, soul. September the 5th, 2016 was my first YouTube video on my old channel. I'm sure it's still there if y'all want to check it out. And I used to make content, but when I made content, it was filtered. Now, at the time, I didn't know it was filtered, but every single thing I was saying, I had to run it through another filter. A filter of, okay, you know what? If people at my job hear me say this, will I still have a job? Like that's a filter that most people on social media don't really think about, what they're really, that they really have to harness down on their thoughts and say, you know what? Will the world approve this? Like, I just saw the on TikTok where the young lady, let me say it right, the young lady that was in the military, I can't think of her name, Staff Sergeant something, where she was making all these posts, and I guess she's pretty big on TikTok is what it seemed like, making all these viral posts, and it seems like they were giving her warnings, and she was just pretty much screw it. And they called her in the office and said, hey, you know what? You have 5 days to get your affairs in order. You're out. You're out the Army. You got to understand, most people live up under that rule of, I got to be good. I got to be good. Like, even when I get online, and this is where I saw the difference in myself. Even when I would get online and talk about my vision or my relationship or how I saw God, I didn't really start sharing that information. I didn't really tap into my singular truth until I was free. Because, like, if you've read the book Singular Truth, I talk about like as long as you're still dual in nature, not say dual in nature, because we're dual in nature. As long as you have more than one truth, you can't lock in and you really can't see God. See, something back then wouldn't even allow my mind to go there. Because I was like, bro, if I say something like this and the people at my job hear this, oh, they're giving me my pay slip. I'll be walking tomorrow. Even some of the things that I was saying, man, I'll use the word fearful. Like, nobody at my job knew I was making YouTube videos the whole time I was making YouTube videos. I didn't tell nobody. In the very end, I remember the very end, I think we had a sales meeting in Carlsbad, New Mexico. And one of the sales guys at the company, he worked for Kenworth. He was sitting there just looking the whole time, and all my bosses there, we sitting there chopping. And he said, you on YouTube? And I was like, YouTube? Like, huh. I said, no, bro. And I didn't have I think I quit like a few weeks after that, man. So that's embarrassing to say. As a grown man, that's embarrassing to say that I had to live two truths. Like, in order to see God, and I don't want to get off topic, but in order to see God, you can only have one truth. Like, if there's more than one version, if there's more than one version of you, I don't care if you shucking and jiving, quit walking on church pews 7 days a week. You haven't seen God yet. You haven't seen God yet. Why do you think I'm always talking about a singular truth? In other words, if you're going to work and you're being this certain kind of person, and then you're going to the strip club and you're this kind of person, and then you're going to church, and then you're going to the PTA meeting, and everywhere you go, there's a different personality. You're doing that because you have to. You're doing that because you're playing that game. So when I say free, it has nothing to do with a financial level. It has nothing to do with your ability to roam. It's your ability to play the real game of life. The real game, which is I'm going to live in my soul identity. I'm going to have one truth. And I'm going to tell you, that's what freedom is. If I had to define what freedom is, sure, Webster is going to say something. Sure, Google is going to say something. But if you ask me what freedom is, it's the ability to wake up every single day and be me in every room. I can go down to this coffee shop. I'm sold. I can go to the strip club if I wanted to. I'm sold. I can go to church. I can go to Jummah. I can go to Mass. I can go to Mecca. I'm the same version. I'm the same version. I said this. I might have said this on the power, so I can't remember. I said, if you take every single person in my contact list on my cell phone, every single person, and put me on a stage, and I started talking about just daily life, nobody in that room would be like, who is that? What is he talking about? Singular truth. What is he? Why is he speaking like that? Why is his voice like that? Why is he using those words? I'm the same soul in every room. In every room. And that's my freedom. So that's what I said. That's why I'm saying, man, it has nothing to do with your job and all this stuff. Like that's some secondary stuff. The thing that your freedom will be determined when you can be the same person in every room. You know, it hurts me to think that like people can't even say what they want to say. I mean, you see people getting canceled, and you see Karens losing their job on social media every couple of weeks, some Karen. And I'll say this, like let's say for example, and let's go here. This is going to be extreme. Let's say you got some of these people. Like the lady, I just saw another one of these. These happen every once in a while where you'll see a Karen in some nice apartment complex, and you'll see some black guy walking through the lobby, getting ready to get in the elevator, go to his apartment, and the Karen will be like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Let me call security." And the guy's like, "Hey, no, you can't." You know, like, and of course those are bad situations. And then you hear about, oh, Karen lost her job. She worked for UPS for 20 years, and this went viral. Now she lost her job. And that's what that is. But to be honest, Karen should have the freedom to say what she want to say. I mean, yeah, it ain't morally right, but Karen should be able to harness her gonads and say, you know what, if I feel this, that's how I feel, and I have the courage to say it. But when you got to move in fear, you're not free. You're not free. Think about this. Think about having the freedom to say what you want to say. That sounds so minute. But bro, you have brass gonads when you can say what you want to say. You have brass. Think about how, and I've been seeing her, and I don't know a lot about her, but I will say this, and I know a lot of people don't like her for some reason, and maybe it's because her political stance. I don't know enough about it. I just know I see her face. Candace Owens. I'm gonna say and again, I know a lot of people don't like Candace Owens, but that's the kind of friend I want. This whole Charlie Kirk situation, man, and what she's going up against, Candace Owens got some of the biggest balls I've ever seen. And I'm not going to get in that whole conversation because I don't really know it, but y'all understand she's going up against an army. Like this is what she's doing is some David and Goliath stuff. Whether you like her or not. Candace Owens has balls, and she has those balls because she's free. So freedom is power. Like my mom said in the post, like that power. Freedom is power. All the dollar amounts and the crib you're gonna get and living and traveling like that's gonna be secondary. But having the freedom to at minimum say what you want to say. That song made me think of that song. It's a song by Meek Mill. Rick Ross is on it and Jay-Z is on it. It's on that Championship album. It might be called What's Free. Listen to Jay-Z had the third verse on there. Listen to what Jay-Z was saying on that song. His whole verse was talking about that freedom. And Jay-Z said something like, Grandmama scared of what I'm gonna say. Like my grandmother is scared about what I'm going to say because she understands I have the freedom to say whatever. The freedom is of speech. I mean, the real freedom of speech. It's powerful, man. It's powerful. So just real quick, man, how do you, I get what you're saying, soul freedom. Okay, how do I find that thing within myself? How do I find that skill? How do I find that attribute? How do I tap into that knowledge, soul, to get to that freedom? I'll just say this. Matter of fact, let's do this. Matter of fact, this is what we'll do. I'm gonna make this conversation much deeper for the Power Circle on Sunday. We're gonna break this down, but I will say this. I'm not gonna leave y'all hanging. I'm not gonna give you I'm gonna tell you this, because to be honest, if I tell you this, it'll be enough, right? Like, go towards that thing within you that has the least resistance, and that ain't how I wanted to say that. That ain't how I wanted to say that. Go toward that thing that feels natural to you. There's a lot of different ways you can find your freedom, but this is the main one. Go towards that thing that feels natural to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, while I froze up, I was thinking about something, man. A brother in the Power Circle the other day shared, he gave us a link to find like your spiritual gifts and all that. So that's what I was thinking about. But go toward that thing that feels natural to you. And what I mean by that, I'll use myself, for example, right? Like what I do now, me getting on YouTube, because YouTube is pretty much just the funnel of my business. YouTube is what branches off and everything. But getting on YouTube and me just sharing my thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Like I understood a while back that this is what I did. This is my part of life that really had no resistance in my life. Me just talking about, sharing my thoughts, me being an empath, having the ability to really put myself in somebody else's shoes, me having the courage to think outside of the box. Like I sit back at some point in time and said, that's my recipe. Like if y'all haven't seen the recipe, I'll leave a link for the recipe. I said, that's my recipe. Like that's my code to my freedom. Because it's what I was doing before I even started YouTube. It's what I was doing at every single job that I had. It's what I was doing at every single quote unquote circle life of friends I had. It's what I was doing in every relationship I had. It's like what I'm saying is who y'all are seeing right now on this camera. This is so out of camera, off camera. There's only one version of me. I only have certain things I even want to talk about. I don't want to talk about LeBron. I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about finding freedom. I want to talk about the deeper reservoirs of knowledge. That's all I want to talk about. So it ain't like this camera is coming on and going off and now soul is somebody else. It's the same soul. And it's what I've been doing my whole life. You know, giving safety meetings at my jobs were just like this. They were just like this. And at one point in time, I said, you know what? When I understood that I was an empath, and that bothered me for the longest time, I was like, man, I don't like that because it's hindering my life. I don't like feeling what everybody else is feeling, right? But I said, there has to be a superpower within that. I said, that makes me have the ability to relate to people easier. So boom, I put that on the ticker. Empath, I can relate to people. I can see I can feel what you're feeling, right? Second mark, I like sharing my thoughts. I'm not scared to think outside the box. I can look and talk about religion and not have the fear of hell and say, hey, you know what? Maybe this isn't what the Bible meant. Maybe this isn't what God is. Maybe this isn't what the disciples are. Maybe this isn't what prayer is. Maybe heaven and hell are states of being or even relationships. Maybe it's more than her having a fat ass. Maybe it's more than him making 6 figures. Like maybe this bond between us is something else. Having the courage to think and having the gonads to get on camera and say it. I took that recipe, man, and said, God, let me step into this. This is who I am now. This is my singular truth. Like the Bible says, the heavens will open, whatever it says. I don't want to jack that up. The gates of heaven will be open to you. And I'm gonna tell you this, man, when I understood that and tapped into that, the gates of heaven were open to me. All that other stuff, man, and all that stuff came, the job, and certain jobs and certain money and the big crib and certain car, all that stuff came, but it couldn't compare. It can't compare. It will never compare to the freedom. It'll never compare to the freedom. And I understand to maintain this freedom, it's not about kicking back, because if I can ever kick back and just say, let me just bask in the sun for the next 20, 30 years, 40 years, and just live and die, that's not freedom. Because there's going to be some turmoil in that because it's just not freedom. That'd be a whole nother video, me speaking on that. But you got to understand that like there's an exchange for that freedom. That freedom is not the end goal, it's the journey. Like Mama Soul said, it's in the journey, man. And I believe if a lot of people understand that it's in the journey, I believe that if a lot of people understand that it's within that first step, I believe more people would jump. I believe more people would jump. Like when you hear people say, and I see people say this all the time. And I heard a young lady talking about it, or say it this morning on maybe TikTok. Hey, I be on TikTok a lot. But she said, if you wanna like test your relationship with God, be an entrepreneur. And I've heard people say that. I've said it before. That's the truest thing I've ever heard in my life. If you wanna not even test your relationship, if you wanna have a relationship with God, with source energy, make that leap. Find that thing that you're passionate about. Find that thing that has no resistance and move toward it and take your power back. Take your freedom back and move in that energy. Oh, you and God gonna be like this. Oh, you and God gonna be like this. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have to have such a relationship with the unknown. You're going to have a relationship with that thing that's all powerful to make this leap, bro. You're going to have to. You know what I'm saying? But once you form that union, you have that relationship, man, and you feel that freedom. Because I'll say this, like that freedom, even when you first make that jump and there's struggles and there's hard times and the bills are late and you're still free. You're still free. There's been times, man, in life where, hey, man, things are just on a high hill. Money's coming in from 1,000 directions, man. And there's been times where it's like, oh, man, I got bills. I got that. But each time I wouldn't change my position. When I was hitting these low parts and trying to figure things out, and man, I would still never go back to my last job that had the big bonuses and had all the money. I would never go back to that. You know what I'm saying? I would never say, hey, you know what? I'm throwing in the towel, man, because that freedom and that relationship with God feels much better. I'm talking in circles now, man. Y'all get what I'm saying? Find your freedom, or somebody is using your freedom to build their own.